Hello everyone. Today in our lesson, we will be discussing about figures of speech. But what do we mean by figures of speech? Let's find out. A figure of speech is a phrase or a word having different meanings than its literal meaning, which means it uses a figurative language. But why do we use figures of speech? We use figures of speech so that our speech becomes much more persuasive, vivid, relatable, and very creative. Whenever you say something but you don't mean it literally, you are using a figure of speech. For example, let's say you are about to head out to a store and your mother says, "You better take a jacket, it's raining cats and dogs out there." Does your mom literally mean animals are falling from the sky? Of course not. Her meaning is that it is raining heavily outside. But why doesn't she just say so? That it's raining heavily outside? That is because figures of speech are meant to clarify and describe in more detail. It enhances our ability to express so that the reader has a better understanding of what is being conveyed. In this lesson, we will be discussing the following figures of speech: personification, hyperbole, and euphemism. In this lesson, we will be discussing the following figures of speech: personification, hyperbole, and euphemism. Let's look at the first one. Personification. The practice of representing an inanimate object or an abstract idea as a person and endowing it with human traits. Personification can represent an inanimate object, that is a non-human thing, or an abstract idea as a person and give it human traits and human attributes. In literature and poetry, we often come across instances where an inanimate object such as the sun, moon, stars, and the river are personified. For example, the wildfire ran through the forest at an amazing speed. Here, the wildfire has been personified by giving the human quality of running, attributing human characteristics to something which is not human. Let's look at a few more examples to understand personification. The moon played hide and seek with the clouds. Playing hide and seek is also a human quality. And then one day the boy came back and the tree shook with joy. The tree here is an inanimate object who cannot possess the quality of joy. The tree here is represented in a human form. I hope you all have understood personification. Let's look at the next figure of speech. Our second figure of speech is hyperbole. What do we mean by hyperbole? A hyperbole is a type of figurative language. It is not meant to be taken literally. It is an overstatement that exaggerates a particular condition for emphasis. Hyperbole is usually used for emphasis or as a way of making a description more creative and humorous. Let's look at an example. "I'm so hungry I could eat a horse." In this statement, the example exaggerates the condition of hunger to emphasize that the subject of the sentence is in fact very hungry. This person has no intention of literally eating a horse, but is trying to figuratively communicate his hunger through hyperbole for effect. For instance, when you meet a friend after a long time, you say, "Rahul, it's been ages since I saw you." You may not have met them for 3 to 4 hours or a day, but the use of word ages exaggerates this statement and adds a lot of emphasis to it. Let's look at a few more examples. "I told you to clean your room 1,000,000 times." The subject here is figuratively stating that they had asked you to clean your room many times. The term 1,000,000 times here is an exaggeration. "I'm so tired, I could sleep for a year." This sentence also uses hyperbole to exaggerate how tired he is. Let's look at a figure of speech from our literature. The American poet W.H. Auden writes in As I Walked Out One Evening, I love you, dear, I love you, till China and Africa meet, and the river jumps over the mountain, and the salmon sing in the street. When will China and Africa meet? How can a river jump over a mountain? And when will the salmon be intelligent enough to sing, or evolved enough to walk the street? Of course, none of these things will happen, so it implies that the author will love her forever. W.H. Auden is using hyperbole to emphasize the strength of his love. I hope you have understood hyperbole. Let's look at the next figure of speech. The next figure of speech is euphemism. Euphemisms are polite, mild phrases which substitute unpleasant ways of saying something sad or uncomfortable. We usually use a euphemism to replace words or phrases that would otherwise be considered harsh, impolite, or unpleasant. For example, "We have to let you go, Tyler," is actually telling someone that he's supposed to get fired. To let someone go is to fire someone. This is a euphemism which sounds much nicer than the harsh reality of the situation. She's feeling under the weather today. This statement is a euphemistic way of saying that someone has fallen ill without directly saying so. Joey is not the sharpest pencil in the box. Here, the term sharpest pencil is a euphemism for Joey not being smart enough. I hope you all have understood all three figures of speech. Let's have a small evaluation for it. The first question, what do you think over the hill is a euphemism for? Let's look at our options. A, too old to function, B, very smart, or C, overweight. You are right. The correct answer is A, too old to function. The second question, what is personification? A, the repetition of initial consonants. B, an exaggeration. C, comparing two things without using like or as. Or D, giving human qualities to non-human things. You are absolutely correct. The correct answer is D, giving human qualities to non-human things. Which is an example of hyperbole? A, my feet are very sore. B, I have more homework than you. C, I have a ton of homework. Or D, this sweet tea tastes fantastic. That is wonderful. The correct answer is C, I have a ton of homework. I hope you all have understood the three figures of speech: personification, hyperbole, and euphemism. Thank you very much.